Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're heading somewhere truly special, Jaipur, India's famous pink city. We all know the images, right? The vibrant colors, the busy streets, the absolutely stunning buildings. But what if there's more? What if that beauty, those ancient walls, are hiding something deeper? Like maybe the whole layout is a kind of code, a riddle put there centuries ago with, I don't know, incredible foresight.
That's exactly the idea, and it's really captivating. Recent research is digging into this, and this deep dive, it's not just about looking at a pretty old city, it's about understanding Jaipur as maybe one of the world's most intricately planned urban spaces, a real testament to ancient knowledge and brilliant design.
So not just a city that grew over time. This was a conscious creation. King Sobhagyawati II, back in 1727, planned, from the ground up, initially for about 40,000 people, inside this 6.5 square kilometer wall. And we know, generally, that Vastu Shastra, the traditional Hindu architecture system, played a role. And astronomy too, of course.
Right, but here's the mystery, the paradox, really. We knew about those influences, but the specifics, the exact step-by-step planning, the precise geometry connecting landmarks, roads, gates, that's been, well, largely unaddressed, almost like the blueprint got lost. So this new study is trying to decode those, let's call them hidden mysteries scientifically, treating the city like a puzzle.
Okay, so prepare to have your ideas about old cities maybe shifted a bit. We're going to look at some surprising facts, show you just how forward-thinking the founders were, and how this 18th century design still works incredibly well today, even with, what, 3 times the population it had in the 80s? Let's dive in. First, the vision behind it all. To really get Jaipur, we need to start with the founder, Raja Swayjai II. Who was he? And what made him decide to build this massive new city in 1727?
Well, he wasn't your average ruler. Sobhagyawati Singh II was deeply interested in astronomy, really knowledgeable about Vastu Shastra too. And he had this grand vision. He wasn't just thinking small scale. He insisted that these ancient, very precise principles had to be baked into the plan right from the beginning. He even brought in a famous Bengali architect, Vidyadhara Bhattacharya, to help with the planning.
And it wasn't just because they felt like moving, right? Their old capital, Amber, was already there. Why build something new?
Exactly. Amber, which is about 9 kilometers away, it had geographical limits, real topographical constraints. It just couldn't handle the growth, the expansion they envisioned. So the king made a very deliberate strategic choice. Let's build a new capital. Planned meticulously, right from scratch. It was more than moving. It was rethinking urban life for the region.
You used the phrase quantum leap in city planning earlier. What made Jaipur's layout so revolutionary back then?
It really was. Jaipur used a gridiron pattern for its streets and main roads. We still see that as super efficient today. The whole city was divided into 9 rectangular blocks called chowkri, major roads crossing at right angles. That kind of order was a big shift from the more organic way many older cities developed.
Now, when you hear grid, you might think perfect squares.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaipur's blocks aren't identical, are they? That's puzzled people. Did this study figure that out? And what about those big public squares, the chupads?
Good point. Yeah, the blocks aren't identical, and the study does explain why, relating it to an underlying geometry we'll get to. As for the chupads, places like Choti Chupad, Badi Chupad, they weren't just for show. They were vital public gathering spots, especially for festivals. And some, before independence, even served as water storage areas. So, multifunctional design right there.
What seems really key from this research is that Jaipur wasn't just planned on paper and then built. It points to serious pre-planning. Were important buildings already standing before 1727, before the city was officially founded?
Absolutely, and that's crucial. It shows the depth of the foresight. Several key structures were actually finished before the official founding date. These acted like anchor points, giving clues for the whole city layout.
Okay, so places like the Chand Mahal, the political hub, Govind Mahal and Surya Mahal, religious centers, plus Badal Mahal, Jain Niwas, the Jantar Mantar Observatory, and Surya Mandir. Wow. Having those in place first really shows a deliberate, phased approach, setting the stage for everything else. Okay, so for centuries, the exact plan was a bit of a mystery. How did these researchers tackle it? What was their method for uncovering these hidden blueprints?
They used a really sophisticated approach, combining modern tech with historical analysis. They looked for these underlying geometrical relationships using spatial analysis, different kinds of grids, astronomical data, of course, things like the golden ratio and triangulation methods. And they used software tools, things like US Navy Online for historical astronomical data, SunPath software, AutoCAD for mapping, and Google Earth to visualize it all.
Right, so they needed specific points to measure between. Which landmarks or nodes did they focus on to crack the city's design code?
They zeroed in on the really critical spots. The main public squares, the Chupads, Choti Chupad, Badi Chupad, Ramaganj Chupad, also the main gates in the city wall, Surajpol, Gangapol, Chanpol, Ashmeri Gate, New Gate, Sanganeri Gate, Ghat Gate, Zorawar Singh Gate, and Samrat Gate. All of them were analyzed.
And I guess temples and other key sites too, not just squares and gates.
Oh, definitely. Important temples were key. Govind Devji Temple, Tripolia Gate, Badal Mahal, Surya Temple, Charnan Mandir, Garganesh Temple, Galtaji, even forts like Moti Dungri and the entrance to Nahargarh Fort. They even looked at natural features like Takatora Lake and the nearby Nahargarh foothills, thinking maybe they played a role in the initial surveying.
Okay, let's start peeling back these layers. The connections are where it gets really mind-boggling. First stop, the temples. What do they find out about the Govind Devji Temple's position?
Its location is pretty unique. If you draw a line from Govind Devji Temple to the Sun Temple, it creates an angle, 116 degrees from north. Now, here's the amazing part. That angle, it perfectly matches the azimuth angle, the exact compass direction of the sun at sunrise on the winter solstice, as seen from Govind Devji Temple itself. It's like an astronomical marker built right into the city plan.
That kind of precision back
Oh.
then. It's incredible. How sure are they? It's not just, a fluke, a coincidence.
Well, the sheer volume of these precise alignments makes coincidence seem really unlikely. We'll see more examples. And Govind Devji's centrality isn't just about the sun. Look at the distances. It's about 800 yards from Choti Chupad and Badi Chupad. Exactly double that, 1,600 yards from two main gates, Chanpol and Sanganeri Gate. This really backs up the idea of it being the Brahmasthana, the sacred center in Vastu, which should be near green space, like the nearby Jainiwas garden. It's truly the city's sacred heart.
Okay, wow. What about other temples, like Charan Mandir, Surya Mandir, and Gangapol? Similar hidden links there.
Yes, absolutely. Charan Mandir is actually older than Jaipur itself. It's aligned perfectly with the cardinal directions, north, south, east, west. Its east face points towards a key mountain pass, the route to Delhi. Now, the study found Gangapol Gate sits exactly halfway between Charan Mandir and Surya Mandir. And get this, if you draw a circle centered on Gangapol, with the radius being the distance to Charan Mandir, that circle hits Surya Mandir perfectly, and it also passes right through Choti Chupad. It really underlines how important Charan Mandir was even before Jaipur existed. In fact, Jaipur's foundation stone was laid at Gangapol.
That's fascinating. So the temples weren't just standalone secret spots. They were like nodes in a bigger geometric and maybe even cosmic network. Any other temple alignments that back this up?
Definitely. Temples with tall spires, the Shikara, like the ones at Choti Chupad, Badi Chupad, Ramganj Chupad, and the Surya Temple itself, they all sit on the main east-west road in a perfectly straight line. It shows a clear integration of the spiritual layout with the physical street plan.
Okay, let's shift to the grid itself. Jaipur's famous grid. Most grids you think of run straight north-south, east-west. But Jaipur's is different, it's offset, right? And the study found something amazing about why it's offset.
That's right. The main roads aren't aligned perfectly cardinal. They're tilted, offset by about 13.25 degrees from true north. And here's the really mind-blowing part. That angle, 13.25 degrees, is almost precisely half of Jaipur's latitude, which is around 26.9 degrees.
Wait, half the latitude?
Yeah, think about that. In the 1700s, they calculated this specific tilt, linking the city's orientation to its exact place on Earth. It wasn't arbitrary. It was this precise tilt that enabled the unique 9-block division. Astronomical engineering on a city scale.
That's just incredible foresight. But even with that overall tilt, did some things still line up perfectly north-south or east-west, like a layered approach?
Exactly. It shows sophisticated layering. Even with the 13.25-degree tilt for the main grid, some key points do align cardinally. For instance, the entrance to Nahargarh Fort is due north of Ajmeri Gate, and Zorawar Singh Gate is due west of Gangapol. It's like they used both systems.
And back to the puzzle of the blocks not being perfect squares. What was the underlying idea there, according to the study?
This is really clever. So the blocks you see are rectangular, not square, and they vary in size. But the research showed that the proportions, the diagonals, the axial properties, they perfectly match what you'd get from a conceptual underlying 3x3 square grid. It means the planners likely started with that perfect square concept and then adapted it, derived the actual rectilinear layout from it, probably for practical site reasons. The hidden geometry was square.
So it wasn't just about function. There's this aesthetic layer, too. Did they find evidence of things like the golden ratio, sacred geometry?
Oh, absolutely. The aesthetics seem very deliberate. If you measure the whole walled city, the length from Champol to Surajpol, and the width from Zorawar Singh to the southern wall, The ratio of length to width is about 1.61, incredibly close to the golden ratio, 1.618.
Wow.
Yeah, it strongly suggests they used it intentionally for visual harmony, maybe even applying it fractally in the street patterns, making the whole city feel, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, they didn't stop with rectangles, did it? They found more complex shapes, triangles, stars.
Yes, it gets even more intricate. The study shows you can overlay golden triangles within the layout. For instance, a triangle connecting Ajmeri Gate, Sanganeri Gate, and the middle of the City Palace Garden forms angles like 36 and 72 degrees, key golden ratio angles. You can even find geometric structures related to pentagonal stars fitting into the plan. It's like a hidden layer of mathematical art.
This is all pretty extraordinary. But maybe the most startling find, the most personal one, is what you call the king's encrypted legacy. The idea that Sobhagyawati Singh II actually embedded his own details into the city plan. How on earth did they figure that out?
Okay, this is where it really challenges the idea of coincidence. Take the king's birthday, November 3rd, 1727. The azimuth angle of the sun at sunrise on that specific day was 107.50 degrees. That exactly matches the azimuth angle of the Sun Temple up on the Gupta Hills when you view it from the Brihat Samrat Yantra, the giant sundial in Jantar Mantar. And that sundial's gnomon, its pointer, is set precisely at Jaipur's latitude, about 27 degrees.
Okay, aligning the Sun Temple view with his birthday sunrise. That's
It's incredibly specific, and there's more.
more celestial alignments linked in.
Yes. The moon's azimuth at that same moment sunrise on his birthday was 284.20 degrees. That is the precise azimuth of Chanpul, the moon gate, as seen from the Sun Temple. Sun Gate, moon gate, Sun Temple, moon azimuth, all linked to his birthday.
Okay, mind officially blown. But it wasn't just angles, right? Actual numbers. Dates encoded in distances.
Precisely. This is maybe even wilder. There's a specific intersection point formed by an axis from Chandra Mahal Garden to Gar Ganesh Temple, crossing the main north-south axis of the giant sundial. The distance from that intersection point to Ramganj Chupad, it's exactly 1,727 yards.
1727, the year the city was founded.
The foundation year numerically encoded as a distance in yards.
Unbelievable. Did they find his birth year too?
They did. The distance from Samrat Gate to the base of that same giant sundial, the Brihat Samrat Yantra, it measures around 1,688 yards.
1688, his birth year.
Yes. This can't realistically be coincidence. It feels like a deliberate, multi-layered encryption. The king embedding his own legacy, his time, his identity right into the stones and streets, a kind of permanent signature.
Incredible stuff. So beyond the astronomy and geometry, did the study suggest how they physically did this, how they laid it out on the ground? You mentioned Takatora Lake.
Yes, it seems Takatora Lake might have been a key surveying tool. The study suggests the three tabutras, those platform or fountain structures in the lake, weren't just decorative. They seem to have served as critical survey points for the initial layout, a practical method for achieving this complex geometry on the ground.
So the lake wasn't just scenery, it was functional for the surveyors.
It looks that way. For example, the northernmost Chabutra lines up exactly east-west with a distinctive arrow-shaped point in the city wall near the Nahargarh foothills. That gives a baseline. And the line connecting the other two Chabutras, its azimuth is 103.25 degrees, the same orientation as Jaipur's main tilted roads.
Wow, so the lake itself reflects the city's tilt.
It seems so. And lines drawn connecting these Chabutras also pass through other key points, like the Nahargarh Fort Gateway and, again, Ramganj Chupad, which we just linked to that 1,727 yards distance. It strongly suggests they used these points for sophisticated triangulation to accurately lay out the city grid before modern tools existed, a masterclass in practical surveying.
And finally, just briefly, the chupas, the main squares. We know they were public spaces, but how do they fit into this intricate geometric plan?
They're absolutely integral, not just random open spaces. Choti Chupad, for instance, is equidistant from Charan Mandir and the Sun Temple. It's also key to aligning some instruments in the Jantar Mantar Observatory nearby. Badi Chupad is positioned precisely relative to Samrat Gate and the giant sundial, reinforcing the accuracy and debunking older ideas about spatial errors. And all three main Chupads lie on that major visual axis connecting Chanpul, Moon Gate, and Surajpul, Sun Gate. They're also visually linked to solar observation points near the Sun Temple. They act as crucial anchors in the whole design.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive really transforms how we should see Jaipur, doesn't it?
It really does. The conclusion is pretty clear. Jaipur's plan wasn't organic, it wasn't random. It was, as the study puts it, a definite underlying sophisticated plan. It required immense knowledge, immense intellect, and years of meticulous work. It's a masterpiece on multiple levels.
Yeah, it's this incredible blend of urban design, geometry, vastu, visual alignments, practical surveying, and complex astronomy, just woven together.
And you have to give credit to the minds behind it. The architect Vidyadhar Bhattacharya, scholars like Pandit Jagannatha Samrat and Guru Ratnakar Pundarik, they made the king's, Sawayajai Singh II's, very learned vision a
It
reality.
really makes you think. This isn't just history about an old city. Jaipur is still thriving. It's a living example of foresight, of embedding meaning into the places we build. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? When you look at the cities, the streets you walk every day, what hidden patterns, what deliberate choices, what forgotten stories might be right there, embedded in the layout, just waiting to be noticed, what's hiding just beneath the surface of the